Much like Who Was Prince explores the life of Prince and his influences, Remy Martin joins with international music star Usher in Team Up for Excellence, the film, exploring the history of music, culture, and cognac. See the film at teamupforexcellence.com. Remy Martin Cognac, 40% alcohol by volume, imported by Remy Cointreau, USA, New York, New York. Please drink responsibly.
If anybody is thinking about approaching me and ever want to catch me on the streets, I really tell y'all take great precaution because my battle rap brain is still definitely good. So a play of words. So let's take the alphabets. A, I know B's and C's. Fellas, R.I.P. to Tookie. He got taken by the Terminator. That's the ex-governor of California, Schwarzenegger. He could get D's nuts for executing Crip leaders. Now you on E or out your effing mind. G, it ain't hard to see. It's all a conspiracy. They caught my cousin in the H. Hit him with a Rico. A, he hit the freeway like freeway. Translation, just another pawn for the CIA. Because where I'm from, you either dunking like Dr. J or get caught up in the drama with a K and get slayed. My El Chapo boys, they will bring the drama to him. Now, what that means, they'll carve a M in him. And, oh, mama screaming, not my boy, his mom, deep, but he ain't Pete. The havoc cost them the morgue. Now, wait for my cue before you leave the booth, or you are going to see this S on your key, make you woozy woo from all that blue. Now, y'all ain't catch that. I told Superman before he take flight, wait for my cue, because his weakness is Crips tonight. And you know all that blue is Crips tonight. And y'all wondering why Clef is bouncing like a zombie. That's Tales of the Crips tonight. Now, I'm at the W. They setting up my suite. You working on punchlines, making it hard for me to compete. I ran for president. They considered my setups a threat. That's why they was dying for me to do a speech in Harlem so they could set me up like Malcolm X. The troopers stopped me. I say, don't ask why in the stash box I keep a Glock. You motherfuckers is killing niggas, so I keep an axe like ZZ Tops. Bar God.
Wyclef Jean is a genius, a producer, a rapper. He's been a friend of mine for years. Oh, this is a good conversation. It's the man, the myth, the legend, the hip-hop legend, Wyclef Jean on Touré Show.
What do you love about music and making it?
I think, I'm having like conversations because, I look up to like people like Quincy Jones, Jan Zimmer, Gershwin, right? So these are a few names. Anyone who's listening, like, remember the three names I told y'all because it's so important. The reason why it's important is because I got into music because I wanted to be a composer. And I think that this is the part that people don't get, right? Because as someone who grows up, in the hood, in the projects, right? When you coming up inside of our culture, what they automatically tell you is like, yo, if you want to be popping, you got to be on the radio. Like Funkmaster Flex got to be playing you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got to be on the billboards. Like, then you pop and you become this super big superstar. But what they don't tell the community, there's a whole nother side to it, which is actually more important than that. And the idea of like, yo, if you become a composer, you actually can create the stars. And once you create the stars, you literally will never not have a job, if you actually could create someone. So I always say I got in the game because of it was like, I'd be like, yo, who's doing Superman? Like, what's this music sounding like? You know, like, I love MJ. Damn, but what's this music in the background? You know, I remember first time I heard Summertime. And I that happened to me coming from Haiti at 10 years old, right? And I got to Brooklyn, Marlboro Projects in Coney Island at 10. And I'll never forget, I couldn't speak English. And I used, I got one of my cousins, like, we got stories of Brooklyn is crazy. Because, cousins get stabbed, I got stabbed, fighting. You young, it's like literally you're a young immigrant, you know what I'm saying? And, zoned up at a very young age. And you're trying to find your way. And I don't think people understand that. So when we say the idea of like music helped us find our way, that means that it helped me from not getting deported. It helped me from not throwing on a mask and coming for you. It helped me from not sitting in a jail cell with a lot of my cousins that are doing double life. So I saw two guys one day, like going at each other. And there was, dudes was like, yo, your mama, F your mama, I schooled your mama. Other dude like, yeah, well, I schooled, and I told my man, I said, yo, they going at each other hard, but why they not fighting? I'm confused. And my man said, yo, this is called battle rap. And I said, what that mean? He said, they are fighting. But he said, you know how we be breakdancing? And then another crew come from another block. They doing the same thing, but they doing it with words. So I was like, yo, I'm going to be the best battle rapper in the world. Because in my brain, I was like, yo, if I become a great battle rapper, I could avoid having a slap box, trying to protect yourself. And you're the oldest, you dig? Like, so if you go for anyone in my family, I'm the oldest, right? So you know how I go, right? I'm going to go get my big brother. You show up like you weigh like $120, you got to be ready to go. So a high school teacher saw me playing piano on there, right? And I was like on the piano, and I was like, you can see the piano behind me?
Yeah.
So I'm like on piano, and I'm like, right? And I'm playing these chords, and she goes, where did you learn that? And I got on my bubble goose, scullied up, and I'm like, I play in my dad's church. Like I could hear the music and I just play it. She's like, but who taught you that? And I said, nobody taught me that. And she was like, close your eyes. And I closed my eyes and she was like, what do you see? And keep in mind, I've never studied music theory at 15 years old yet. I don't even know what that is. So I told her like, okay, my left hand, I could see like 1-5. And in my right hand, I could see like 1-3-5. And she was like, tomorrow, you're starting jazz and classical music. I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to be a battle rapper. And she was like, no. So she strung me up. And so the minute she put me like in that music class, and this is like in the hood, right? Literally, I was like, then the epiphany hit me. And I was like, yo, I'm going to be a badass composer, Yeah.
So I want to go through the pieces of being a great music creator.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the philosophy, because you're a great lyric writer. Tell me the philosophy behind writing lyrics.
So anyone who writes lyrics are inspired, right? And usually, like when you listen to an album like Nas, Illmatic, like one of my favorite albums, and you see like line for line, like he's painting the picture. And then if you pay close attention, he starts to decode where he gets all this information from. And then you start to notice the books that he read. And you start to notice the OGs that were on the block that be like, yo, man, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And you go, what's that? You got to read that book. So I think the idea of words are inspired by conversations. They inspired by culture. They fueled by culture. And they inspired by living inside of other people. And what that means is you as the author, at times it could be your story, but then you have this thing where you can channel what someone else is saying. So it's almost like, so as young little Haitians, they got a crazy culture that says, don't sit under the mouth of old people when they speak it, like mind your place. Like you're not supposed to be within this conversation. But I was always that kid that would be always listening to these different stories. And then even though that would not be my story, I would go into the imagination of how that person felt. And I'd be like, what if I could tell his story? So I think these are like the combinations. I say you have to be able to be within a space of chameleon, right? So whether we talk about great directors, whether we talk about great authors or great rappers or great singers, they're like chameleons within spaces of writing. They could go in and out of different stories, not just their own.
I mean, part of what you do, what songwriters do, is compressing the information, right? Because I have to be, as a writer, the kind of writer I am, I have to be expansive and explain the idea in a big way with lots of words. But you have to be able to be super economical and tell a story with a couple of words, convey a feeling with a couple of words. Like, how do you just like, compress the thoughts and the stories and the emotions down to like, my love is your love. I understand what he's saying, like just like.
Okay, so the best way I can explain it to you, and I'm going to explain it to you in probably a couple of words, and it's all going to make sense. To be or not to be. Shakespeare. So I don't think like there's no difference with us and Shakespeare. At the end of the day, Shakespeare was a great writer. And, you have to be able to go, Jesus wept. And that's the message. So what happens is, some people call it wordsmith, right? There is a part of it which is a gift, right? Because, and the gift comes from playing with words at a very young age. So being that English was not my first language, Creole, French, then English. So I attacked the English literature similar to the way like a Biggie Smalls or a Tupac, right? And what that means is, so Biggie's mom is Jamaican. So literally, if you pay attention to some of his phonetics, you'd be like, hold up, like he's speaking a Queen's English. Like, at times, Slick Rick also, like, you'd be like, hold up, the level, and then Tupac, another great intellect, would literally take the words and flip them into Shakespearean form and spit it back out. So I think that's also just literally when somebody's like playing ball, they're on the block trapping, you like trying to figure out how many double entendres you can come up with, triple entendres, how many one word can mean five things, you know what I'm saying? It just becomes like it goes from like a hobby to like, oh shit, like I could actually do this, you know what I mean?
Is there, okay, and I mean like choruses are super special. Obviously that's the heart of the song, right? Like,
Yes.
So how do you get a great chorus?
Well, the chorus for me comes from I always say that I'm cheating because I'm from the church. And not only I'm from the church, me and my brothers and my sisters was the band in the church. And every Sunday I got to make up a song. So the chorus, we call it the soul. If today they call it the top line. And it's all about the top line. Okay, so the key to the top line is you got to think like when you're going into the top line, you sing it. And the key is, can you make someone that's not a singer think that they can sing, right? That's when you know you got a great top line, right? Because the chorus that the world sings to, none of them can really sing. But man, when they sing in that chorus, can they sing? So usually for me, it's like, okay, is this a top line that is shower microphone worthy? And I'm so serious with you. A lot of people have different ways that they write. I have like a shower in the house, and it's like you have it's so funny, right? So I probably have like 10 bathrooms in my house, right? I use one little tiny ass shower, bro. Like, it's that same little tiny shower with the wood, right? And the water comes down, and there's a little sun that beams, because like, I'd be like, I wrote so many tunes in there, and it's like, there's one of like, I guess like Wyclef, I'm like music theories, like, yo, is it shower bound worthy? Is the hook shower bound? Because if it's worthy, a lot of us sing in the shower. It's gonna work.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think for one thing that I see that some people do and a lot of people don't do is to start the song with the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times you build up to the chorus and then hit you. But like some people, not that many, but some people start the song with the chorus. Is that a thought about how to approach it, how to get you to really be hooked into the song faster?
Well, it depends who you're writing for, right? So to your point, you made the best way I could always explain is just to okay, we'll take a song. The song you were singing, Whitney Houston, My Love's Your Love, right? So let me see. You can see the piano?
Yeah.
I gave you I made sure I went to the piano room for you because I know you're like a musicologist. So
let's talk about it.
So Whitney Houston, right? So you sing, my love is your love and your love is my love. It will take an eternity to break up, and the gentleman was not good for us, right? So you're like, man, this hook is really powerful. But the actual hook to the song that I felt would grab people was not even that. Like, It was the part when I went like, clap your hands, yo, it's all right. Clap your hands, yo, it's all right. So to each writer his own. So Whitney Houston.
Is that a hook? Is that a hook in your mind?
Yeah, well, yeah, to me, that's a pre-hook. So sometimes the pre-hook is supposed to bait you into wanting you to get into the hook. And sometimes if the pre-hook, for me, usually comes before the main hook. You'll always hear, like, in my music, like you'll find a pattern. There's always like the pre-hook and then the hook comes in, because somehow the pre-hook for me is what I call a call and response. So in the church, we call that a call and response. It's like, can I get an amen? Amen. Can I get an amen? Amen.
Amen.
Okay, now let's sing. You know what I mean? To some, they like spend days just trying to. I have like friends of mine. So like when me and Avicii was working together, and we was writing the anthem for the World Cup that was in Brazil, which we ended up writing. And right, so it's like you're approaching a song with 1 billion people viewing it. So it's like, right, so and it's a football field, like a football field in every part of the world. So you go, and then you already know how the football chants are and how big they are. So automatically, once again, like something like that, we literally spent like 5 or 6 days, like, what's the hook? Like, we can't even start a verse or a pre, because this is stadium, like, football music. So the writer has to be able to adjust to the composition of who he or she is writing the song for. This is a very crucial part to the music theory.
Talk to me about writing melodies.
Melodies are important, and usually I would say, like when I listen to like John Legend, for example, and it's like at times I hear Donny Hathaway, right? Like at times that you can hear he does something, and you can listen to early Ray Charles before Ahmed said to find your voice, you know what I'm saying? And you'll hear like different soul singers. And I think melodies come from times of growing up and listening to so much different music, right? So at the end of the day, every singer that you hear, you have a comparison for them. I don't care who it is. Like every individual has a comparison. Like some people hear Lauryn Hill and they be like, damn, this is like some Nina Simone vibes, but different.
Yeah.
You know, like they hear Clef, they go, yo, this is like some Bob Marley vibe, but different. So what is it, right? You could hear Hendrix and you'd be like, yo, this was so-and-so. Melodies come from just years of listening to so much music that you love. And there's always something that says there's nothing new under the sun, right? Right. The greatest art is to look at the art and to be able to create from that art. Then you have Basquiat, right? So at the end of the day, being that great songwriters will always tell you like, man, I grew up listening to so-and-so. I grew up listening to so-and-so. So then when you really, if you was to start to break down their style and their melodies, you would definitely come across a lot of what they listened to in the past. And I think a great example of that is the score by the Fugees. Like you hear a lot of these melodies coming in and out. Because keep in mind, when we were coming out, we were rhyming and singing. So what all of the kids are doing today, that's what we was doing in the 90s. And, you know, in a time when everyone's like, yo, you got to keep it real, you know, like, yo, the lyrics got to be, and so you have two parts of it. You have the monotone style of rhyming, where it's basically like you're talking poetry, right? And then you had the melodies. So all of these groups that were coming with melodies, you can always identify it with something that came before us, you know?
Okay. Remy Martin joins with international music star Usher in Team Up for Excellence, the film, exploring the history of music, culture, and cognac, from blues to hip-hop, swing dancing to breakdancing. Usher and Remy Martin traveled through the decades in France and the U.S., honoring cultural figures, both rooted in a shared philosophy of aiming for the stars. See the film at teamupforexcellence.com. Remy Martin Cognac, 40% alcohol by volume, imported by Remy Cointreau, USA, New York, New York. Please drink responsibly.
I've been trying to eat more vegetarian and more fish and less meat. Unfortunately, where I live, it's really hard to find fish. I can't just go to the supermarket and get salmon or any halibut that I want. Luckily, the Wild Alaskan Company delivers high-quality, sustainably sourced wild-caught seafood right to your door. I can choose from salmon, cod, halibut, and more, or a combination of any of them. And every month there are different specials to explore. You can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership at any time, and they offer 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. And right now, you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/DCP. That's Wild Alaskan, ALASKAN, company.com/DCP for $15 off your first box. wildalaskancompany.com/DCP. Make sure to use our URL and let them know we sent you.
You're a great rapper. Talk about what it is to be a great rapper. Like, how do you get on the mic and like really make us feel it?
Well, I think there's two parts to rhyming. And I want to be clear with people. So they was trying to get the Fugees one time on Stretch and Barbito's show, right? and
early, you mean like early Stretch and Barbito?
Yeah, because you know they're trying to get you on that show, because if you can get on that show, you're gonna get a college buzz at the time, right? So you know the reps are working. And I even saw something with Stretch and Barbito, and it was like, oh, in the beginning, they didn't know. They was like, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, like, Fugees, what are they talking about, right? What was interesting about that was with rhyming, it was a little tricky, right? Because the reason why it was tricky was, as a composer, I knew that rhyming was an element that I had to incorporate. But when people hear the score, they go, yo, Clef is rhyming. They hear the carnival, they like, Clef is rhyming. they hear me on Big Pun. They go, yo, I didn't know he could spit like that. Did Cannabis write his verse, right? Not knowing, like, that was part of my hobby, right? So I think that with Stretch and Barbito, not until we got on the show did they really knew that we could really spit. Because at the end of the day, it was sort of like what we was saying was not on wax yet, if that made sense. So it was like we still had a street element of trying to figure out what it was and couldn't put it to wax. So I think that what makes a great rapper is growth. And every year they keep getting better with their rhymes. So, for example, so if you like, yo, Clef is 50, what does Clef bars sound like 50, right? So here we go. You ready? I'll just break the alphabets down for you, right? So now think about when I was 20 and now I'm 50. So it could either go two ways, right? I could either start like on and on and on. You're like, oh, man, I love Clef, but he gonna have to get right. So what keeps me consistent and sharp, right, is because the culture that I'm from, the love first came from battle rapping, right? So if anybody is thinking about approaching me and ever want to catch me on the streets, you know, I really tell y'all take great precaution because my battle rap brain is still definitely there. So a play of words. So let's take the alphabets. You ready? A. I know B's and C's, fellas. R.I.P. to Tookie. He got taken by the Terminator. That's the ex-governor of California, Schwarzenegger. He could get D's nuts for executing Crip leaders. Now you on E or out your effing mind, G, it ain't hard to see. It's all a conspiracy. They caught my cousin in the H. Hit him with a Rico. A, he hit the freeway like freeway. Translation, just another pawn for the CIA. Because where I'm from, you either dunking like Dr. J or get caught up in the drama with a K and get slayed. My El Chapo boys, they will bring the drama to him. Now, what that means, they'll carve a M in him. And, oh, mama screaming, not my boy, his mom deep, but he ain't Pete. The havoc cost them the more. Now, wait for my cue before you leave the booth, or you are going to see this S on your T, make you woozy woo from all that blue. Now, y'all ain't catch that. I told Superman before he take flight, wait for my cue, because his weakness is Crips tonight. And you know all that blue is Crips tonight, and y'all wondering why Clef is bouncing like a zombie. That's Tales of the Crips tonight. Now, I'm at the W, they setting up my suite. You working on punchlines, making it hard for me to compete. I ran for president. They considered my setups a threat. That's why they was dying for me to do a speech in Harlem so they could set me up like Malcolm X. The troopers stopped me. I say, don't ask why in the stash box I keep a Glock. You motherfuckers is killing niggas, so I keep an axe like ZZ Tops. Bar God. You know, man, I tell you, know what I'm saying?
Wow.
We can't make that up. It's just what we are. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, that was amazing. I want to talk about a couple more pieces of the game in general, but I want your analysis on, you keep talking about the score, obviously. One of the biggest albums, one of the best albums of its time. It was your second album. Blunted on Reality came out and did very little noise.
Yeah.
The score came out and was gigantic. Same threesome, right? What was the difference between why one album went and the other album exploded like a nuclear bomb, changed music, changed your life, changed, Lauren and Praz's life, changed so much?
So on Blunted on Reality, I was the kid in the class. And there was a professor, wasn't me. The professors were, the Fugees was signed to La Jam, Kool and the Gang. And that was the production company. So the entire production was being done by the production team. The the direction of how to go was being done by the production team. You're a bunch of kids, you in the hood, you want to get on. So you have ideas, but you're very careful on when to speak because there's Cool in the Gang. It's Jungle Boogie. They wrote Fresh, Celebrate, every bar for people turning up, celebrate. So now I'm the little professor. I'm the little student in the class. It's math. So I understand the pre-calc and where it's going. So when we left House of Music in the big studio where they was recording us, and then now I will go back to my hood. So I go back to East Orange. So in East Orange, I had a little studio called the Booker Basement. So in the basement, the way that I was making money, Jerry, we always making money. Like I had Lauren singing hooks for like some of my friends, and a lot of them was like drug dealers, but they would pay money to sing a hook. So if Lauren's listening, she sung a hook called The Twilight Zone, like Elle would be singing crazy hooks. Like we in the hood, and these hood dudes loved her. Like when you do a track and you put Elle on the hook, it's going to be crazy. So the beats that I was doing in the hood, I felt was more like Ron G and that kind of stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Diamond D vibes, Premier, like I was listening to stuff like that. Then I fell in love with like Enya, like in Europe. So I was like ASAP, like ASAP Rocky, the way like, he used to just was listening to different stuff at a young age. This is just how I was. So then when we go back to the House of Music, I'll keep my mouth shut. You feel me? And then we have to do that. So after the first album came out and then it tankered the way it did, the audience that, if you've been to a Fuji show, you already know, what the reviews kept saying was like, the album don't match their shows. Like there's something that's wrong. Like they live, they bars are sounding crazy. They playing guitars, they killing it with the band, but why did that not register in the first record? Like something is missing, you know what I mean? So they got us with a producer named Salam Remy. And so you got to keep in mind, so at the time, think of like Barry Gordy. Like it's almost like Barry Gordy's looking for a hit for the Temptations, right? He already know the Temptations is the Temptations. He believe in them. But he's like, if I could just get one record to make people pay attention to them, they out of here. So this is sort of like what Sony was looking for. Salam Remy brought us in, and I went to see Salam first. So if you talk to me, I always tell you like Clef came and me and him, because I have the conversation oracle to oracle. I felt like Salam was like me, like he was young, and we can have conversations. I didn't feel like I can have those conversations with an older, because I'd be intimidated to have these kind of conversations with, these heavy gurus that has changed the face of music forever. So Salam was like, all right, bring the group, Lauren and Prize, and we're gonna do some stuff. So I was real excited. I felt like Salam understood what we were saying because, he had Hot Stepper. He had the different kind of records. Like for us, we was like, the way that the older crowd looked at Kool and the Gang, that's how we looked at Salam. We was like, yo, this dude is just, he's on the pulse of what's going on. So I'll never forget, I actually was in the studio with him 3 months ago where he played a freestyle, the first freestyle that we did. Because we all went and freestyle. I think I freestyled like 15 minutes on the Nappy Heads beat. And he has all of these dots, these original, just young Fugees just going mayhem. And so Salam threw on the Nappy Heads beat. And he said, all right, who's going to go first? Because he understood like this nothing but a cipher. Like whoever goes in there, they're going to do like Redman. They're going to do their thing. I'm already an oracle. I know what I'm going to hear, and I'm going to know how to cut it. So I would say like 7 minutes in, then I'm like, yo, and I'm going. And I'm like, I'm like, Achiba, Chiba, y'all. Well, I'm a Libra, y'all. That came in 7 minutes in. Then I'm like, yo, Mona Lisa, can I get a date on Friday? And if you're busy, I wouldn't mind taking Saturday. Hey. Now I'm 15 minutes in. Forgot everything I did. I just did whatever I did. Left. Lauren goes in there. She goes crazy. Like, bar God is crazy. Prize goes in there. He does his thing. But I was watching how Salam cuts it, like, you know what I'm saying? So the way, like, I was watching how he was producing, I said, holy crap, like, this guy is different. He's actually composing. So I was like, okay, I got to watch him closely. So we left. And Salam took the record, and in his composition brain, he was like, okay, this is going to be the hook. Let's get 16 out of Clef. Let's get this out of Get. Let's get 8 out of Prize. Come back to Clef. If you notice on Nappy Heads, I have more bars than everybody. I rhyme in the beginning, and he threw me at the end. That's because he's literally had 15 minutes of me of just crazy stuff. When I said, and I say to myself, what a wonderful world. But what the fuck was so wonderful about picking cotton in the farm? Mr. Slave, man. So once Salam did that, I never forget, he said, y'all have a blessing and a curse. He said, before we even get started, the curse is y'all too fucking talented. He said, the blessing is, all we got to do is do some knucklehead shit and it's going to go. So, and then he said, then y'all can bring out the guitars and all the other shit. So we did this record and we left and we went on tour with Das Effects. Bum, skibidi, bum, hunt. I got that boat, bum, and I can fire. Oh, right? So while we on tour with Das Effects, it's so important that everybody understands, like, you always got to keep your pulse on the culture. And you can't assume, like, what you doing is it. Like, you always got to be like, what am I doing tomorrow and the next day? The minute you get comfortable, like, something else is going to slip in. So I remember being on tour with Das Effects, you know, and Das Effects Hardcore Underground, I love that group. But we was different. Like, so when we came out, dudes would see me in a bubble goose, but I'll show up with a guitar in my hand. It's like, you're in the underground. This just doesn't make sense. And then the minute we start, I'm playing Mobb Deep on guitar, they start going crazy. And it started to be this thing. But we are out of New York City and we don't have no clue what's going on. Meanwhile, this song, Nappy Heads, has taken over New York City. So by the time we get off a tour, they're like, yo, they got a show at Jones Beach. We show up. Now, keep in mind, we coming from Blunted on Reality. So we never perform Blunted. Like, maybe we do 2-3 songs from there. We always do what we feel in our heart on stage. So we go out there and we like killing it. And then I'm like, yo, so I told Leon, yo, just drop the record. And, you know, we don't know. So, and I said, yo, Mona Lisa. And the whole place erupted. Boom, boom, the whole Jones Beach, 20,000. Chiba, y'all. Well, I'm going to leave. Yo, that eruption was like one of the greatest highs I've ever felt. Because I was like, what just happened, right? He was like, yo, what just happened? And so Sony was like, okay, we need an album. Like, there's something going on. So then I was like, great. So I went to my sensei, Salam, and every record I did in the basement, I would bring to him. And then I'd be like, yo, you want to add something to this? And he'd be like, boy, I'm ready or not. He was like, nah, that sounds done to me. So I'd be like, you want to add, you know? And then he was like, yo, I had this record for Fat Joe, but y'all might want to hear it. And then we heard it, and it was the Fuji La beat that was originally for Fat Joe. And we used to be number 10. So coming from Nappy Heads, we dropped another single with Salam because we was like, yo, the stuff that we we still felt like it was different. We felt like Ready or Not was different. We felt Killing Me Softly is a big R&B song. And we was like real, like playing chess. Like we didn't want to move too quick. Like, so people, because we didn't want nothing to go over people's heads again. So we was like, okay, Fuji Lie, Knucklehead vibe again. Let's go to Jamaica. Let's turn up the Clash vibe. And then, but the minute we dropped the score, we noticed what started happening. DJs just literally was dictating what the next singles were. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, right? We didn't have YouTube. There was none of that. They literally was like, oh yeah, it's going to be Killing Me Softly. And Killing Me Softly and Ready or Not was literally going up and back and forth like that. So that's how it worked out.
If you could see and taste this bacon from moinkbox.com, you would order it right now. But for now, I'm seeing it and tasting it, and it is delicious. And I'm telling you, you've got to get moinkbox.com. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and wild-caught Alaskan salmon direct to your door. Their animals are raised outdoors, their fish swim wild in the ocean, and Moink meat is free of antibiotics, hormones, sugar, and all the other junk you find prepackaged in the meat aisle. Join the Moink movement today. Go to moinkbox.com/politicsoffood right now, and listeners to this show get free bacon for a year. That's 1 year of the best bacon you'll ever taste for a limited time. Spelled MOINK box.com/politics.